Welcome to the FitMoney Podcast, where we'll discuss something we all need through our entire life, financial literacy, but also asking the tough questions like, why aren't students learning it? Financial literacy is more than the math and a behavior we'll need beyond the classroom. So we're learning how we can help students, families, and teachers build a new generation of financially fit students everywhere. Today, FitMoney Executive Director Jessica Pelletier is joined by Carleen Haylett, the CEO and founder of EnrichedHQ, an online marketplace for activities, resources, and more for children to explore their interests and learn new skills too. A homeschool parent herself, Carleen is helping families find quality, enriching activities for students however they learn, and sharing how an education outside the traditional classroom has values of its own.
Hi, Carleen. How are you today?
Hi, Jessica. Thanks so much for having me. You know how much I adore you and everything that Fit Money is doing. So I couldn't be happier.
Well, I've been looking forward to this conversation, I think literally since we met, because we have so
Ah,
much in common. And I am just wowed by you as a very successful and very busy entrepreneur. Also, a single mom of a super smart, just amazing middle schooler, and also a homeschool parent. So, if I could, I'd love to start there. Tell me about your homeschooling journey and why you decided that was the right path for you guys.
right after the pandemic, the summer there, what was that, 2020, the school that my son was in had decided to close permanently. And so we found ourselves in the summer, 2 weeks before the year was to start, without a school, not being able to visit any place, all of those things. And in conjunction with that, since the pandemic, I had enrolled my son in a virtual world school, which was really more focused on program based or project based learning, things that he chose he was interested in, and really sort of pushed him to take ownership of it. And I call it one of the pandemic silver linings, but the acceleration of his learning was astronomical. Like, things, we've talked about this a lot. He's a big time techie like his mama, but things that he was finding passion around, and being able to watch that evolve and know that those things that he's passionate about aren't offered in traditional schools really sort of set us down that path. And we've tried a bunch of different things. Virtual school was one of them. Homeschool, I think we collectively agreed that I was the worst teacher on the planet, but there's that. And so we're now sort of in this hybrid mode where he goes to a school that um, is really more of a one-on-one tutoring situation and then a group situation. But again, he chooses what he wants to learn. He can go as much or as little during the week as he wants, but a lot of it he does here.
I think that you touched on something, you saying, the worst teacher out there. And I would assume most parents feel that way. Believe me, I feel your pain. We did that too during the pandemic. And I think that kind of misconception that a homeschool parent also is the teacher and you are perhaps creating curriculum and you are teaching, science, math, and algebra. But so that's not true. There are a lot of resources out there, and it sounds
Tons.
like you really can explore a whole bunch of them at one time.
Yeah, 100%. It was an area that I knew nothing about, and was really flabbergasted and overwhelmed at times at the amazing options.
Mm.
They go all the way from full-fledged, curriculums and schedules and so forth, all the way through to, I live in ed tech in this world, choosing up and coming technology offerings that address math or English in a very unique way and being able to build that. So, and anything in between. And now what we're seeing is there are companies that are coming into play that are really acting in a consultative nature to parents to help them put together a comprehensive program of um, what might be right for their child and the way the child learns and so forth. The one thing that I would add is if he was any younger, there's absolutely no way I would have been able to do it. Um, this is just my experience is being a single mother, also starting a company, and whether I was, at a traditional job or starting a startup, having a child that can't execute on his own to some degree, doesn't need someone standing over him to make sure that he's doing, if my child was that age, there's just no way I would have been able to do it.
Right, right. I agree. And I think that might be a pause, a big, big pause that many families have if they do have that kind of elementary, certainly kindergarten. When COVID hit, my youngest was in kindergarten, and boy, that was a challenge. When they
Yeah.
would get off Zoom and say, "Be back here at 10:30," and then my son would look at me and say, "Well, what does that mean?"
Yeah, right, right,
So
right.
I completely understand.
And you as a, a professional, what it translates into is you're playing cop. Get on your Zoom. Are you on your
Mhm.
Zoom? Do you have your video? Where's your camera? Where's you know what I mean? Did you do your homework? Are you ready for ba, 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 ba? And then you're also trying to have meetings, do your work, have some thought time and so forth. And that just becomes just such a disjointed, stressful environment. So
Very much so. Very much so. So, is that when you decided to? Because I'd love to hear a little bit more about your company. This is where we kind of have a cross path. I know you care a great deal about education, and clearly, as a parent of a child that has many different ideas and interests. Talk a little bit about how you have really fixed your time on this idea of extended learning
yeah.
and really going after what the child wants to learn, not just what we want them to learn.
So the company is called EnrichedHQ, and we are a marketplace where we bring together an exclusive ecosystem of activity providers that focus on kids that are grades 5 and up.
Mhm.
And in addition to that, we focus only on what we term life skills building programs. So this also is a result of seeing firsthand what isn't being offered in traditional education, right? So, wherever you fall along the pendulum of education working or not working, it doesn't really matter. There will always be topics like what FitMoney is doing, budgeting, taxes, investment, entrepreneurship, STEM based music, all of those things. And I, as a parent, not just a single parent, but as a parent, know what an absolute nightmare it is to go out into the internet and try to find these various things that A, my son is interested in, B, I can afford, fit within the schedule,
Mhm.
is a vendor that I trust, and blah, 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 blah. So the platform really is about how do I make it my world to go out and find the best of the best life skills building providers for kids that are grade schoolers and up, middle and high school kids, and make it easy for parents to engage across, price points, vendors, time, scheduling, and those sorts of things that give them a single spot, right? Because not to get into a therapy session, but um, this really stems. This is an idea that I've had for 11 years, right? Like, as a single parent, I want and need to help my child develop to be self-sufficient,
Mhm.
right? Um, and um, I've known for 11 years that it's a nightmare,
Mhm.
right? And so early 2020, right before the pandemic, I had gotten to a point where I was like, enough already. I'm sick and tired of trying to make this work. And nobody's doing anything about it. And even if I solve this problem for me and me alone, well, then there's that.
I love it. I love the initiative. And starting a company is hard, for
Ugh.
sure. Is this your first startup, or were you an entrepreneur before this?
I had one very, very small, I would call it a small business versus a startup company. I had spent several years as an apprentice chef in Italy and started a company that brought Michelin star chefs to the United States to do teaching classes and guest chef things and so forth and so on. So the chefs would come for about 2 weeks. People would hire them to, come to their house and cook and things like that. So I did that for a couple of
That is
years.
so cool. Carleen, I just learned something completely new about you. That is
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, thanks.
But I love it. And talk about real life skill. I mean, cooking.
Yeah,
I believe, a little bit ahead of my time, that was something that was taught in public school,
yeah.
home economics. And that was right along with perhaps balancing a checkbook and things like that. And
Hmm.
I don't know when someone decided that that was no longer a skill that anyone needed.
Yeah.
So tell me about some of the options, or some of the skills that kids can go on and find, or that parents could steer their children towards.
Yeah. Well, of course, there's FitMoney, right? The certificate, and we're getting up some of the other programs that you guys run, which are offered for free, which is awesome. Because part of what we also do is we try to extend this into socioeconomic
Mhm,
areas where kids don't have the
mhm,
access to or the financial means. So, in addition to that, we do a lot of entrepreneur type things, starting a business. We
mhm,
do a lot of investing. What is investing? You do budgeting, obviously. We do music lessons through one of our partners in New York, guitar. We do acting lessons, singing lessons, yoga, meditation. We also do a lot around social and emotional well
mhm,
being. So, one of our partners is focused on helping families, not just children, but really sort of work through gender issues, social pressures. Um, we do also do a lot around college preparation, how to
mm,
even, decide what colleges to choose, how to build a list, how to write an essay, what are the requirements for entry. So there's all sorts of things that may fall outside of, traditional academics, if you
mhm.
will.
Which I love. And you're right. It is unfortunate that I think we've heard that more times than not in the public school environment, that, funding is limited. And so therefore we have to just teach what are kind of on the tests. We've heard that time and time again.
Right.
And there are many schools that are trying really hard to keep those electives and keep them in place. But sometimes they just fall short. And so it's really fantastic that there are opportunities out there like this, because
Yeah.
we all know that academics are really only one part of life.
Yeah.
And if you don't have, especially after the pandemic, the social skills, then you really are not going to succeed, because we don't all just sit in a one-person laboratory
That's right.
for our lives.
That's right. That's right. And people joke and they say, well, when did I ever use, I heard this really interesting quote the other day, when will I ever use algebra, Mom? Like, why do I have to learn algebra? And this mother that I was talking to said to her son, you may never learn algebra, but do you realize that every time I go to the grocery store, I use it, right? Because I look at the price of something, I have to figure out how many people are in the family. Is this enough? Is it not enough? Is it a good price for, what I'm buying? Those sorts of things. And so there are practical applications. So I love this notion of uh, being able to take traditional subjects
Hmm.
and teach them in a way that has real life application.
Right,
Right?
right. I call it relevant education. And because I don't in
Absolutely,
any way
that's
want
great.
to
Yeah,
demonize kind of what we call the more traditional, science is incredibly important.
sure.
And
Right.
so we do need to teach those, but I do like that application to
So do
life.
I.
Some of it's math. It's not by any means all math. So much behavior is in how we make decisions about our money. But there is math there. So you do have to learn,
Right.
some of those basic math skills, or else you
Yeah,
really are
and
sunk.
writing, you
Right.
just spoke about writing, business writing, proposal.
Hmm.
I'll share with you a funny story. I've, almost a career-long salesperson, right? So my whole world is around business cases and, proposals and so forth. So my son, probably like your son, is constantly asking me to buy something. Like it just never stops. And even if I say no, it just keeps on going. But so what, through the course of the pandemic, what I've taught him is okay, I'm open to whatever. But you, son, you need to go and you need to build a business case around it. And you need to present it to me in a way that shows me that it's something of value that I should be giving you the money to buy, right? And he's got to use math, he's got to use
Hmm.
writing, he's got to use presentation and debate skills. I ask him questions, right? And so to your point, he's learning the fundamentals of math and so forth and English and writing, but he's applying them in a way that will certainly benefit him as he grows up and goes off into the world.
Right. And you know what I also hear in that example is he's also earning that.
Yeah,
Because as an 11, and you made it very clear, he's not 10 anymore, he's 11. As an 11-year-old, he can't go get a job,
right.
really very easily, certainly not at, the grocery store. So it is sometimes difficult for parents, especially around allowance. Do I give an allowance? Do I not? But regardless of where you fall, we know that young children want to earn money in some way.
Mhm.
And so you're also giving him that earning appreciation because he
Yeah,
had to actually work for that amount. Regardless, it wasn't,
that's right.
labor, but he had to really put his mind to something and earn that. So that's a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
example. I love that you did that.
Yeah,
I think I might have to
and to
steal that.
extend that, thank you. And to extend that further, you'll love this, is I opened him a real checking account with a
Hmm.
real debit card. And if I agree to whatever he proposes, which by the way I always do, but I don't want
Secret is safe
to
with me.
right. But that money goes into his checking account and his debit card, and when it's gone, it's gone.
Right.
So he's learning those skills as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on today and talking to
Yeah,
us.
my pleasure. You know how much I adore you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah,
Look forward to talking again soon.
yeah, thanks, Jessica. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on the FitMoney Podcast. Whether you're a caregiver, teacher, or student yourself, there's plenty of great K-12 resources to begin or continue your financial literacy journey at fitmoney.org. Visit the show notes for more from today's guests and financial literacy activities for the classroom, at home, or on the go. We'll see you next time, and until then, happy learning, earning, and saving.
The FitMoney podcast is presented by FitMoney, the leading K-12 financial literacy curriculum providing free, unbiased financial literacy resources. All opinions, products, and references during the show are not endorsed by FitMoney and are solely opinions of the individual. FitMoney does not claim any responsibility for external resources referenced during the episode. All FitMoney products and episodes are provided for educational purposes and are not professional advice.